Welcome to the next session for Aligned 2017, the virtual summit that's dedicated to all things B2B sales and marketing alignment. I'm here today with the sales development leader for one of the fastest growing sales technology companies in the planet right now. That's Alex Lynn. He's here with me today, and we're going to talk about how he's helped lead their team to massive growth in a very short period of time, and how he's aligning internally, getting sales development synced with account executives, with sales engineers, and in general, just taking outreach to the next level. So, Alex, glad to have you on, man. We go way back. How are things up in Pennsylvania?
It's going great, Jeremy. I really appreciate you having me on. Really happy to be able to come on and talk to you a little bit. The guys at Ambition and you especially have been close supporters and friends of ours from day one. It seems like so. Really happy to get on them. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, man. And so start with the beginning. Give us your background and Outreach's background as a company.
Yeah, definitely. So, I actually started working at Outreach in about August 2015. It was my first role in inside sales. Came on as one of the first SDRs of the team, and basically came into it with a completely blank canvas, I guess you could say. I'd worked in retail sales for a few years prior to that, did some operations and merchandising, purchasing, that kind of stuff. But came into it as kind of a blank canvas, and really came in because of the VP of sales here, Mark Ozaglo. I met him once and talked to him a few different times through different interviews and stuff. And I just really realized, like, this guy, he gets it. He understands sales. He definitely is just a different mind when it comes to sales, I think. And it was something where I was like, I got to come, I got to learn from this guy, and I got to, I really just got to be able to kind of pick his brain if I think I'm going to advance and move forward in the sales division, sales career kind of thing. So that's really why I got to Outreach. For anybody who is listening, anybody who doesn't know, Outreach is a sales acceleration solution. We're really built to help sales teams, book more meetings and save time each day that they would, probably normally be spending logging activities or creating events, tasks, that kind of stuff into their CRM. We've, like as you said, we've had some pretty impressive growth in the past 2 years, and we're helping a lot of teams, and goals to help every sales team in the world, I guess, right?
Right, and you guys, that's one of the things I love about your company is really two things. Number one, you're super young, but you're able to grow incredibly fast, and you're doing it in very unorthodox ways. And one of the things we're trying to do with the summit is give people a variety of perspectives and show how different organizations are doing things, maybe even a lot of people thought weren't possible. And one of the things I love about Outreach is that you're based in Seattle, but the sales team, right, your team, is in State College, Pennsylvania. And that's not a place that is known as a SaaS hub, right? And so I'm excited to hear, what are your thoughts on how you guys kind of built that out, where the advantages, and how that's really impacted your organization having a headquarters in Seattle and then a sales office in State College, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's really a great question. I mean, it's I think it's really had a profound impact on us, Jeremy. I mean, it's really, really interesting, and I don't think a lot of tech companies, a lot of SaaS companies are kind of split like this. But we have two offices on either coast, which I don't think that's too uncommon. But just one in Seattle, which is kind of like a tech hub, and especially like a SaaS technology hub in the country and in the world, really. And then to have one in central Pennsylvania, where I'm looking out the window right now and all I see is fields and farmland, and it's definitely a different feeling and a different culture here. But for me, it was like when I was thinking about, whether or not I wanted to come work at Outreach, it was a startup no one's ever heard of before. And, where they're opening up a sales office here in State College, for me, it was kind of like a homecoming. I was a Penn State grad, the best college in Pennsylvania, I think. I have to say that, Jeremy's, for anybody who doesn't know, he's a Pitt guy. So I got to rib him a little bit about that. We'll see him this fall at Beaver Stadium, but
absolutely, but we will, by the way, and agree to disagree on that latter point. But go ahead.
But it's just interesting. People you find, the type of people, the type of candidates, the type of employees you get here in Central Pennsylvania are definitely different than what you might find in, say, San Francisco or LA or Seattle. But what we do have here, and what we might not have an experience, and where we might lack in, prior inside sales or SaaS experience, we make up for in just really hard work and just really, really strong work ethic. Like I said, I mean, I'm looking out the window at farming fields and people, plowing and everything right now, right? And there's a lot of steel mills and paper mills and just natural resource kind of jobs, manual labor kind of jobs here in this part of the country. And a lot of the people that we've hired into different sales roles here come from really, really diverse backgrounds. And I think that that's actually, a lot of people might say that that's not very good, and that's not really what you should look for when you're trying to build out a team. But I actually think it helped us a ton because we were able to get people from not only different backgrounds but different experience levels, and just seeing so many different things and having people that have been in different scenarios, different situations throughout their entire lives. It was really interesting because we were able to kind of draw a little bit from everybody. We were able to draw people from the person who'd been a teacher for 30 years, then there was the fresh college student coming right out of college. I mean, it was everybody had something to add to it, and especially as we were just starting to build the team out, it was really exciting and really interesting to be able to have so many different perspectives and so many different viewpoints. And I think it really helped us, tailor our messaging originally and kind of tailor our process in general, because we were able to get people seeing it from different angles and saying like, well, hey, I think this might be really effective, or I really think that we should do this. And it became really a team effort initially to kind of build the team out and to build out what our process is going to look like. And now we're
what I want to do real quick though is I want to go back and just to give people perspective here, because you guys here's the timeline, right? You guys started February 2013, $1 million seed round, and hired Mark Kosilo, he was the original sales hire, in late 24, right? And then you've gone from having one sales guy to a team that is now what, 50, something like that. And that's happened in roughly that was 3 years ago that this happened, right? That you're able to grow that fast. And you've
yep.
Basically a just overnight success. So for people who think, oh, that probably stunned their growth, building a team out of State College, is actually, it seems like it was the opposite. I really can't wait to talk to you in a sec about how that happened. So start with I know we've talked about a lot of things. So start by telling how big the sales team is, and you were one of the first SDRs, and talk about the evolution of the sales organization itself and what the culture was kind of built around there with Mark leading charge with that.
No, definitely. And before I go any further, I do apologize a little bit. I'm really passionate about outreach. I can kind of get going and go off on little tangents there, so you got to keep me in line. But
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, I started in outreach. Mark's story is really, really interesting for anybody who doesn't know. I mean, he's been on some different podcasts. I'm sure a lot of different people have heard it. But when he came to outreach, he actually came on and he came to work as the first sales hire, 100% commission, no salary or anything. He's got a family. He's got 4 kids, and so he really believed in this platform and in this software. And so for him, it was like, hey, I know that this is going to work out, and I know that we're going to be able to kill it. So he took the big plunge, right? And then when I came on board, I came on as the 5th SDR. It was a big plunge for me. I thought, I'd never heard outreach before. I never knew of I never thought there would be a startup in State College, but he had already taken the largest plunge. So I figured if he could do it, I could too. And so, when I came on, we had, like I said, we had 5 SDRs. We had, I think, 4 AEs at the time. And that was in August of 2015. And now, less than 2 years later, we're up. We have, 25 different SDRs. We have MDRs on the inbound side. We have some strategic or enterprise SDRs as well. And then I think we have, 15 to 16 different AEs right now. It's honestly hard to keep track. We're hiring people all the time. So, it's just really, really grown. And like you said, we're coming from a place where a lot of people would look at the people we're hiring and, the area of the country we're in and think, that's probably not going to be too conducive to growth. But I think that, kind of being a little bit wacky, I guess you could say, and a little bit zany in terms of how we put the team together and fit everybody together and brought this on. And I think that really helped us define the culture that helped to propel us into that growth. And really that culture is just, hard work, or grit is what we like to call it. We're really big on grit and getting down and dirty and doing whatever it takes to get the job done, which, like I said before, people are really, really well suited for that here in central Pennsylvania. Everyone's all about, extremely hard work, getting the job done, don't quit until it's done kind of thing. And then we're also really about teamwork and really about, kind of having each other's backs and being there to make sure that, while sales is a super highly competitive game. We want to make sure that everyone's as successful as they can be. So while you're trying to take the words of Jordan Greaser, another SDR manager here at Outreach, while you're trying to beat the snot out of some of the other reps, you're also trying to make sure that they're doing as best that they can do too. And I think that atmosphere of work hard, work harder than you've ever worked before, work as hard as you have to get the job done, but also you have a whole group of guys here, a whole family here that's willing to they got your back, and they're here to help pick you up and make you better, but they also want that in return. They want they want you to help make them better too. So
yeah, and
I think we all just pushed each other, and that really helped.
yeah, and so I know we've talked about this before, and I kind of want you to expound upon this, but I know, Mark, when you've said this before, when you hire somebody and they come on, there is a message that is communicated, and that is, we're accountable for your success. The manager, me as your manager, is accountable for your success. You're going to have to work extremely hard and hit these very high daily activity benchmarks, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you're successful. And if you work as hard as you should, and you go along with the process and the program we have, and then if you don't hit the benchmarks, that's my failure too. That's really on me, not you as my rep, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like I think the number one thing that we really live by, Jeremy, is no one wants to like they're out on an island, right? No one wants to feel like they're the lone wolf that has to fend for themselves and get everything done. And like I said, when I stepped into this role, I'd never done inside sales before either. And so we're hiring all these people that have never worked in inside sales. I've never been an SDR, never really been an initially at least an AE before, but we have a ton of people now who have a lot of AE experience. But when they're first coming on board, that they don't really know what to expect, and it's tough to tell somebody, hey, I know you have these crazy, we have really high activity metrics. We need you to, be making, at least 75 calls a day. You need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. And it can feel a little bit overwhelming at first, but from our perspective, mine as well, if you're there and you're coming in every day and you're grinding, you're prospecting hard, you're making your calls, you're writing your emails, doing everything you need to do on the activity metric side, and you're not finding success, then that's not on you. That's my failure is your manager and as a leader to make sure that you're set up to succeed, because we put the activity metrics in place because we say, if you do these every day, you're going to get this expected result at the end. And it's not often that doesn't happen, but at the same time, if there is a scenario where that does happen, as long as you're there and you're putting in the work and you're doing your activities and you're not able to hit your quota at the end of the month, that's not on you. That's entirely on me. And that's my fault, and that's my failure as a manager. So, I take that really seriously, and I know Mark does too, to make sure if that ever does happen, that we, right that ship and turn that around really quickly the next month.
Yeah, and let's go to the next phase of that, which is, you guys seem to have a few things in place within your culture and your process that are sort of built-in mechanisms to ensure success. One of those is automation and streamlining a very effective daily process that makes your reps extremely efficient. And then the other is the visibility around performance and the team sort of aspect of the day-to-day there too, that kind of gets a vibe, has you guys, keeps everybody aligned and feeling like they're motivated and they're part of something bigger than themselves. So start with the process and start with how you guys are able to be so efficient and what the expectations for an SDR and AER each day at Outreach.
No, definitely. That's a good point. When I first started Outreach, it's funny, I always tell everybody this, especially when I'm doing interviews, like, when I started, there wasn't a process. Mark and I like to say it was like the wild, wild west. If whatever you could kind of dream up, you could do it. There wasn't any rules in place, but that led to a lot of it was good. It's good when you're a 10-person startup, right? Once you get up into the area where you have 160 people, you kind of need some process, you need some regulations. And so, from the SDR perspective, there's a few main things that they need to be focused on every day, and the few main metrics they need to be hitting. One of those I mentioned prior, they got to be making a minimum of 75 dials a day. And doesn't mean they need to have 75 conversations, but they need to be making sure they're at least making 75 dials. And there's two reasons for that. A is because we consider the phone to be the ATM. That's where we're making our money. That's where we're getting a ton of our meetings from. And we think that, all those, cold calling is dead. People, I personally, I don't believe in that at all. I always had great success on the phone. Our reps have great success on the phone. And so it's really important for them to be making those dials, but not only just for that aspect, but also because, If anybody's familiar with outreach, sequences is a huge thing for us. Really, a structured series of touch points, making sure that you're touching a prospect enough times to get in front of their face to make that connection, to be able to actually have some type of conversation. And so when you're building phone calls into your sequences, if you're not making those phone calls, you can run into an area where your sequences get stuck, and you never want your sequences to get stuck. So from an SDR's perspective, 75 dials a day, extremely important. And then the other really big one too for SDR is they need to be making sure that they're sequencing at least 40 net new prospects every single day. And that's because, we're booking meetings every single day, which means there's people coming out of sequence from all these different accounts. And, there's always going to be bounces and that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure we're accounting for all that kind of stuff, and we're still adding every day. And so, one of the big factors we found working at outreach is having an extremely high active in sequence number generally always leads to a ton of meetings. And so a ton of meetings is good for SDRs, good for AEs, good for the company. And so if you want to be an SDR here, make a lot of dials and make sure you're sequencing. And then as far as, on the AE side, we just try to make sure that, at least from my perspective, that it's a smooth handoff, right? We're setting them up with qualified meetings, and we have a lot of different SDRs feeding the AEs too. And what I mean by that is a lot of organizations will do, a 1-to-1 or maybe a 2-to-1 as far as SDR to AE kind of pod structure. But what we've done here is gone a little bit more geographical and territory based. And, our AEs have certain geographical territories that they're working, maybe, the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic region. And within those regions, maybe on the East Coast, there's 6 AEs. They're going to have 8 SDRs that have accounts from, Maine to Florida, and they're feeding all of those AEs.
Wow.
So that kind of really ensures that the AEs are getting a ton of meetings, because it's not like they need to rely on, one SDR who, maybe this girlfriend just broke up with him the day before and is feeling a little down, not getting anything done, and so a lot of SDRs feeding them. And then from the SDR side, it means there's a lot of open calendar space, and I never have to worry about, not being able to get that meeting on the calendar. And ever since we've done that, we've just seen a huge uptick in really in everything. And so that's been super, super effective for us.
Yeah, and one thing you've mentioned before too is the day-to-day for an SDR. You dedicate, I believe, an hour to emailing, right? And you're expected to hit a certain number of emails, and then the rest of the day you're calling, you're doing meetings, stuff like that. So tell people how you're able, what that setup is in terms of blocking time, and then how you're able to be so efficient. Because that's I think a pretty important part of what you guys are able to do.
Yeah, definitely. I'd really say, Jeremy, as far as the efficiency aspect, I mean, that's really what we sell. Outreach causes our efficiency. If we weren't, we're eating our own dog food here, and we use our platform every single day. I mean, I would say that we're by far the heaviest users of the outreach platform, and and we should be, right? If we're the ones that are selling, and we're the ones that are helping other teams, improve their results with it. We need to make sure that we have a better understanding of it than anyone, right? And so, outreach is really helpful for causing efficiency. Letting us know when to do what, and who to take action with and what action to take with them is really helpful. But we do block the days off, because it is easier to be more productive if you're really focused on one thing at any given time. So in the mornings when people are coming in, they'll take some time and check their emails, that kind of stuff, respond to stuff from the day before. But then they'll usually get maybe from 8:30 to 9:30 and a nice early morning hours worth of calls in. We generally have a nice high connect rate that early in the morning, and so we'll get some calls in, and then beyond that, they'll hop off the phone for a little while. They'll do either sequencing or emailing. Generally, they'll do emailing, and then maybe write 15, 20 emails or so in an hour. And that doesn't sound like that much, but that can be a little bit daunting as well. So for that, our general rule of thumb with everybody is, no more than 5 minutes per email. It's, if you find yourself and you're sitting there and it's 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, it's a really easy trap to fall into of, hey, I'm going to write the most perfect email ever. And I don't know about you, Jeremy, but I know I've done this before, where I'll spend 15, 20, 30 minutes writing this most perfect email ever, and I know I'm going to get a meeting from it, and then all of a sudden the email bounces when I send it, right? So it ends up being kind of a waste. So we make sure no more than 5 minutes per, and so they'll spend an hour writing emails, generally getting 15 to 20 out in that time, and then after that, they're going to get back into calls for a little while until lunch, and then they'll, obviously everybody's going to have lunch, and then they're going to go into a pretty serious sequencing block, and making sure they're getting, like I said, at least there's 40 net new people added in, and then that'll generally go from probably 1 o'clock up until 2:30, And then from that point on to those 5:30, 6 o'clock, they're just calling,
Yeah.
making sure that we're getting the sequences flowing and getting people on the phone.
Yeah. So tell people then how you have such a high, fast paced, high activity, just, hitting the phones, hitting the emails. How do you keep that? How do you guys have a culture in your office that keeps that from being drudgery and keeps people excited and motivated and feeling good as they're going about this daily activity, 5 days a week with you guys?
Yeah, I mean that's the big question, right? I mean, I feel like that's something that a lot of people I've talked to in the past have asked me, and it is something that it's kind of hard, to make sure. As anybody who's done an SDR role before, I mean, you kind of know it can wear you down for sure. It is a lot of one of our favorite sayings here is the SDR roles are the only people that get punched in the face over and over and over again every day, and they just keep coming back for more. And that's kind of really what it's like as an SDR. You're hearing no a ton, and you're doing these same tasks, over and over and over again. But we like to keep it really light. We have a lot of fun in the office. We'll take a lot of breaks. We have a really open floor plan too, which that might not seem like much, but having everybody out in the middle of the floor, in the middle of the office, and just kind of feeling everybody's energy and celebrating everybody's successes and being there for each other for everybody's failures. We don't really consider them failures, more learning moments, but being there to celebrate the ups and the downs with everybody is I think really important. But we like to keep the mood light. Like I said, it's pretty beautiful here in Central PA. A lot of people will take walks throughout the day, go out and kind of wander around. We're pretty close to Penn State's campus. If they wanted to, they could go walk onto the campus. A little bit far of a walk, but they could. And for me, I think that a huge portion of my job is really just making sure that people are in the right mindset and they aren't getting worn down and they don't feel that drudgery really. And so a lot of my job is just bringing the energy and making sure people are excited every day. And I drink a ton of coffee, that's for sure. Always trying to stay jazzed up and just keep people motivated and keep people happy. I always have music playing in the office, and we just like to keep it light and we keep it fun. It's a high pressure and a high activity environment for sure, but at the same time we keep it pretty we keep the mood pretty light, we keep it pretty fun, and everyone seems to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a positive. It sounds like a very positive place, and it sounds like there's also the openness and transparency and visibility. Is a big part of that. And
Definitely.
I know Ambition users. That's one of the things that
I was gonna say that's a huge help for us too. I mean, hearing Ambition anthems play all day when people are booking meetings or getting sales accepted leads, and having this those competitive leaderboards up front where everyone can see what everybody else is doing, and hey, did Mark send more emails than me today, or did James make more calls than me today? That kind of thing. I mean, that really drives people too, and kind of keeps it light and fun to be here.
Yeah, and so that's like the top. That's like the aspirational, high, positive stuff, and that's also I think what's important is going back to coming in and setting those initial expectations of, I'm here to help you as your managers. Your managers are responsible for your success. You're responsible for your success as well, but this is a team and this is how we're going to operate. And when you come in, there's a structure in place for success if you just do the work. So that's I love that about your team. And I think, it shows how you can hire someone like that, how you can build a team like that at State College, right? Because you're hiring a lot of young kids coming out of college, and you're getting people who don't necessarily know, sales at all, correct?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have people that are fresh out of college, and we have some people, it is interesting, Joe, but we have some people that have 25, 30 years of sales experience, and we have people that have no sales experience at all, either fresh right out of college or maybe a year or two out of college and never even thought about doing something like this. But it helps, keeping the people come into the office, and anytime anybody ever comes in for an interview, it's interesting that it's almost like clockwork. Every single time we'll go back, we'll walk all the way through the office. I kind of make it a point to, when somebody comes in for an interview, I don't take them to the first conference room right on the side, right when they first walk in. I have them walk all the way across the floor. I walk right across the TVs in the front where Ambition's playing, and they can hear the music and everything, and they kind of just get to see, the atmosphere and see people smiling, see people laughing. And then I take them to a little room in the back where we always sit down and talk. And one of the first things everybody says is like, man, like, is this what it's like every day? Like, is this how you guys are always working? And it kind of blows people's mind. No one ever thinks, I know that we're not the only ones that have ever done this. It's not like we coined this type of environment for sure. I mean, it's been around for a long time in different startups, but not in central Pennsylvania. No one's found a job like this here, so it is pretty interesting, and it's really exciting for people.
Yeah, and I want to touch on real quick, and then I'm gonna get to our final question. But going back to this is all about alignment here between sales and marketing, and I think you guys have a very interesting way you've done things. Where Mark, I know in my interview with him for the Sales Influencer series, he talks about ensuring people don't have to go out and prospect and acquire new, just the information needed to just contact somebody, and about how you guys use different data points to figure out who's your ideal persona, who to reach out to, and those are filtered down so that reps know they have a good call list and a good outreach list. So how's that been helpful for you guys, and is there anything else that goes into that process that's been very important for you guys?
The process of like kind of pre-identifying accounts and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, we have a couple of different tools that help us with that. Node has been a really, really helpful tool for that. And, we use ZoomInfo. I'm sure a lot of people are using ZoomInfo for contact data and that kind of stuff. And, one of the nice things with ZoomInfo, obviously they're giving us emails, they're giving us direct dials. So we feel really confident when we're reaching out to people that we do have the right information for them. And then also with Node's kind of pre-qualifying accounts for us a little bit, giving us a little bit of knowledge about Salesforce, if that account might be using Salesforce, if they might be using, Gmail or Outlook or Exchange or stuff like that. So it helps to really have a little talking point prior to, and then, all of our SDRs are trained pretty well at, going on to LinkedIn or onto a company website, or, just news in general, and finding some little piece of information that's going to be, impactful for the prospect they're reaching out to. And so, I mean, that's really kind of the big thing for us. We kind of try to tier all of our accounts off of, what we think is, biggest size of the prize, I guess you could say. Not necessarily the biggest, but the right size of the prize, So all our accounts are in tiers 1, 2, or 3. And depending on what tier you're in, depends on how much type of manual activity you get. If you're a tier 1 account, you're going to be getting a ton of manual activity, manual emails that are, actually, personalized and handwritten, not handwritten, hand typed by SDRs, and, phone calls and everything. And then tier 2 is going to be a little bit less manual, a little bit more automated kind of thing. And then down to tier 3 where it's, fully automated. And, it's not that the tier 3s aren't good, but at the same time, we know what we're looking for, and we want to make sure that we're spending the bulk of our time every day. And, because, time's the biggest currency you have, right? And, you only get so much of it every single day. And, once it's gone, I can't get it back, right? So I want to make sure that our reps are spending the bulk of their time on the accounts that are going to, make the most difference for us.
Yeah, I think that's a crucial point, going back to having the infrastructure for success, and it goes back to your promise to your new hires. We're going to ensure your success, and we're responsible for it, and then we're going to follow through with it. I love it. And and just one thing to add about you guys too, that's also incredible. Sales technology, sales acceleration, such a competitive landscape. But I know you guys, you're not the cheapest, you're not the haven't been around the longest, but you offset. I believe Mark's talked about being one of the more expensive options out there too.
Yep.
Still are growing like you are, and is there anything else you think that's just been critical to being able to do that as just a truly sales driven organization?
Well, I think that, number one, we have, fantastic leadership. Mark, Matt Millen, our VP of Revenue Operations, Steve Ross, the director of our sales development organization. I mean, all these guys are just, they're amazing individuals, great sales minds that are, really help prepare, the SDRs, the AEs, everybody in the sales wing. Really helps to keep them prepared and ready to rock, and kind of nailing the conversations and making sure we're really diving in, finding the pains that people are experiencing, that kind of stuff. So it starts with leadership. That's number one. I think number two, like you said, we are more expensive, and we don't shy away from that. I'm actually proud of the fact that we're the most expensive platform that's out there. I mean, personally, the way I look at it is, I can drive a Honda Accord or I can drive a Lamborghini, and like they're both going to get me from A to B, but at the same time, like I know which one I want to drive. You know what I mean? Like, and I think everybody does, right? And that's not to say that the other platforms out there, other people in the space are not doing good things too. The sales acceleration space is really blowing up. There's a lot of good stuff that's going around out there, but I just think that, our leadership is top notch. I think that the people that we hire, we have a pretty extensive, interview hiring process. I think that we make sure that we don't miss on very many hires. Let's put it that way. We make sure we're getting top notch people in every position we can, and every time we hire. And it kind of starts, from, it goes from the top, from the leadership down to, the people we're hiring, and it kind of meets in the middle, and we're bringing great people on. We already have great people here, and we just know that, we know we have the best platform too, and that's what really makes it the easiest. I just think that we have the best technology, we have the best product team, the best engineers. In my mind, I think we're kind of like the 1-2 punch. Our sales team is fantastic, our support team is fantastic, but also our product is fantastic, and so it just kind of seals the deal.
Yeah, no, it's platonic ideal, right? So, Alex, this has been great. We could talk forever about outreach and your story here. So, but we got to run, and always a pleasure chatting with the fellow Penguins fan, by the way. And so,
let's go. Game 4 tonight. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, tell people where they can contact you, where they can contact outreach and learn more, and give them all that.
Absolutely. Well, first off, Jeremy, I just want to say I really appreciate you having me on, man. It's like you said, we could talk for hours. I always enjoy chatting with you, so definitely appreciate you having me on. As far as finding outreach, you can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, really wherever. Outreach.io. You can look for us. Look up the website, Outreach.io again, and you can pretty much find us anywhere. It's pretty easy. And then as far as for myself, you can find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/n/Allen, ALLYNN. You can find me, definitely reach out to me there if anybody has any questions on, the talk you and I've had here today, any questions on sales acceleration, or, just want to chat and, talk Duke basketball, Penguins hockey, whatever it is. Happy to talk, right? And you can always find me too if you want to shoot me an email, alex.lynn@outreach.io. I'm an open book. I'm always trying to learn. I'm a big believer that you can learn from anybody, at least something, anything. So always trying to talk to people, meet new people, and have conversations and learn stuff. And so hopefully I can be a little help to people too.
Absolutely. And we use outreach here at Ambition, and we've tried out all of them. And I think outreach it's the clear winner. We've used you guys now for over a year, and our sales team loves you. So definitely check them out if you're looking for a sales acceleration tool. So Alex, thank you so much. We are out of time. That concludes this session for Align, the virtual summit dedicated to B2B sales and marketing. Thank you, Alex. Thanks everyone who came and watched the presentation. We'll see you for the next one.